So it's hard to know which display to use for your home. And today we've got a big TV, and then we've got a projector and a really big screen over on this side.
And we're going to go and compare these two with size, room conditions, and convenience of having either one of these in your house. And at the end, pick which display might be right for you guys.
So let's check it out.
So first on the left, we have the Ultimea Thor T60 UST Projector, along with the 120-inch floor-rising screen. This was sent as a package, and you can get one or the other. So if you have a screen already on the wall, you can just get the projector, or if you want the convenience of both of these things, you can buy them together in the links below. The projector boasts 4,000 ANSI Lumen and also has a 4,000 to 1 contrast ratio. It has Dolby Vision, and it's able to transmit Dolby Atmos and DTS HD audio. And let's not forget, this actually has 3D capabilities, which the TV doesn't. So if you're a big 3D movie watcher, that's one benefit of the Ultimea. And on the right, we have the 98-inch TCL QM8 mini LED TV. TCL boasts the peak brightness to be somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 nits on this TV, which I think is brighter than the Ultimea projector, but we're gonna go into more detail on that in a minute. It also does have Dolby Vision. It is able to send out Dolby Atmos sound to soundbar or speaker system. The QM8 also has 2,300 dimming zones, so that's great for keeping black levels consistent while having nice bright highlights. The QM8 TV does have 4 HDMI inputs, and they are capable of 4K at 120, one of them 4K at 144 Hz for gaming, while the other two ports are 4K at 60. So you have 4 options, and you're able to connect a bunch of different devices, including the eARC port again that goes out to your soundbar or speaker system without sacrificing one of those high-speed gaming ports. Now, one of the downsides of these giant TVs is that they're just that. They're huge. This is a 150-pound TV. It has a very wide stand that needs to be placed on a large table or put it up on the wall. You must buy a TV mount that's relatively large too, and we can link something in the description for you if you're planning on buying this TV, but it does need to have that really big pattern that can support the weight of this huge TV. The QM8 has downward firing speakers, which is very similar to most TVs, so it's not going to have amazing sound, and likely with both of these, you'd probably want to choose a soundbar or speaker system to enhance the overall movie experience. On the other side, the Ultimea can project on a screen anywhere from 80 all the way up to 200 inches. Again, this is a 120-inch screen, and you can clearly see the size difference between these two, so definitely a benefit of the projector right here. The Ultimea projector has 2 HDMI ports. Both are 4K 60, so it doesn't have the high-speed gaming, but we're actually surprised at how good the gaming is. One of the ports is the eARC that goes out to a soundbar or speaker system, so then it just leaves you with one remaining port, and that might be a problem for some people. But if you do have a receiver that has multiple inputs on it, then you can just source everything through that into the projector, which I think is what most people would do if they had this in a theater room. And then if you don't have a receiver and you're just gonna go with the Ultimea speakers, they are forward facing and they do sound pretty good. And we'll do a little sound test here in a minute, but I would just recommend a sound bar or speaker system for either of these options. I must admit that having the convenience of this 120-inch screen that can be lowered and then moved out of the way and quickly set up is pretty cool. I think it would be awesome if it had a stand that you could connect all this stuff together and just roll it in and out, or if you have a theater room and it's not a big deal, then you're just going to set the projector up and never touch it, so that's a benefit as well. I'll talk a little bit more about the convenience of these two products when I give buying advice at the end, but they have slightly different operating systems as well. The Ultimea projector has an Android operating system, which is a little bit older than the newer Google TV operating system of the QM8, but more or less both of them are able to get in pretty much any app that you'd want. I think the Android system is a little outdated in that it doesn't have resume your shows from YouTube TV or whatever you might be watching down here. It just kind of gives you some things that are relevant to your account when you're logged in. The Android OS still has a ton of apps and a ton of different things that you can watch, some featured or advertised movies and shows. It does have some free live TV channels and all that. And more or less you can get what you need out of it. You could also connect another operating system to the HDMI port and get what you want. But when you have something like the Google operating system that's on this QM8, you just get a little bit more customization. So it shows things that you have been watching. And I think you can just find the content that you're looking for a little easier. I think either way, I'm pretty happy with both operating systems. And they both have YouTube TV, which is what I watch to get some content. So let's go in and check that out. And once we have both of these screens on the same thing, you start to notice some similarities and some differences. I think the first thing that I noticed is that the projector is a lot brighter than I thought it would be when compared to the TV. I mean, the TV is still a little brighter, and I think in general, 2000 nits would be considered brighter than 4000 ANSI Lumen. I don't know the exact difference, but the projector looks great, and it looks a little bit more colorful in person, and I think on camera as well. Now, we don't know if either one of them is perfectly accurate because they're not calibrated. So one might say, you know, the TV is accurate and therefore the projector might be oversaturated, but that's just something that if you buy one of these, you'd have to get checked out and figure out, because even if I had all these calibrated, yours might be different and so on. But I'm really impressed with the projector from straight on, and I'm also impressed with it from off angle. And that's not something I can say about the QM8. Even when you get a little bit off angle on this TV and a lot of other TVs, the picture quality, the color, a lot of that changes depending on the panel. So it's really cool that the Ultimea projector looks really good from pretty much any angle, and I'm assuming that most people would like that when they're in a theater room if they have a bunch of seats and everyone's trying to watch the game or a movie from wider angles. Looks really great. The QM8 not so much, so I'm a little concerned about that. And that sort of leads into another issue or concern for some people, which would be reflection handling. Typically, TVs have pretty good anti-reflective capabilities, which this QM8 does have, but it still bounces some light off of it like a mirror. On the other side, you have this ultra short throw projector, which is rejecting light from above and around it and gives you a more matte-like finish. So really, in a room that does have some light in it, I feel like that projector looks really good with regards to the viewing angles and lack of reflections, while on the other side, the TV has more reflections visible, and if you're sitting off angle, the picture quality doesn't look as good. So straight on, I really like how good the QM8 looks. It's a little brighter, it has good motion control, good upscaling, all the things you love from a good TV. And don't get me wrong, the Ultimea looks fantastic from straight on too, and we really haven't had to mess with any of the motion, which I've had to do with some of the other projectors we've had here. But when you get off angle, everything changes. And so now I'm sitting here from an angle talking to you guys, and the QM8 just does not look nearly as good as the Ultimea with regards to skin tone and just general color. Now, of course, if you have it in a really bright room, now we have this gigantic light on full power, you can see that in general, the projector screen does get washed out more so than the TV. So it really just depends on what kind of room you're in, and I'll get into that here in a second with the buying advice. Oh, and another test, one I can't forget, is the dirty screen effect test. Typically, TVs are not perfectly uniform. It's a lot more difficult for the backlight system to come through perfectly even, so you'll get some darkened corners or sometimes what looks to be like a bit of dirty screen on the actual panel. You're just not gonna have that with a projection screen. It's just a large piece of fabric, so very uniform, no issues there, and you're just sending up light onto that screen. So if you want no dirty screen effect, then it's going to be the projector. When moving on to movies, I noticed two things. One, when in transition, the screen of the TV got perfectly black, whereas the screen for the projector looked more really dark gray, and I think that just highlights the different levels of contrast. Again, the QM8 TV has 2,300 different dimming zones, so it can keep areas of the screen really black while other areas are super bright. But that does have the downside of blooming, which isn't present on the projector. And that's where areas around the picture may get lit up accidentally while those dimming zones aren't working perfectly. The projector is just, light coming from that projector up on the screen. So again, it's either going to look really good, or if it's in a bright room, it may not look as good. But the other thing that I noticed is how much bigger the projection screen is. So yes, 98-inch TV is great, but a 120-inch projection screen is just awesome. It's what you'd expect when you go into like a theater. If you're gonna have this in your house, why wouldn't you wanna have the biggest option available? And besides the size difference, the projector does have 3D capabilities. Now, I can't really show you how cool that looks in this video, but trust me, having 3D is really awesome. So if you wanna have that in your home theater, the Ultimea projector wins there. And I've gone from 65-inch to an 83-inch TV to a 98-inch TV, and having these 120-inch or larger projection screens is just awesome, especially if they look as good or close to as good as a lot of these other TVs. So really happy with the Ultimea projector with regards to how it looks, and then having the 120-inch screen is absolutely awesome. And on top of that, for the Ultimea projector, it actually has pretty good speakers pointing straight out toward you. So with TVs, typically the downward firing speakers don't sound that great. Sometimes they point backwards and bounce off the wall, and so you don't get great sound quality to pair with an awesome TV like this, and you gotta buy a soundbar speaker system. The Ultimea has great speakers coming out at you. It sounds fantastic, but again, I think in both of these instances, if I'm going 98-inch or 120-inch screen, I want to have a great sound system, and I'm sure anyone that's putting one of these in a theater room would agree. But to be fair, let's give it a listen on each one of these because there is a noticeable difference.
See? That's not even his car. Or his wife. Oh, I know. See? That's not even his car. Or his wife.
And lastly, before we get into the buying advice, gaming. Now, both of these are going to be huge, fun gaming experiences. There's no question about that. The QM8 has 4 of the HDMI ports that we talked about, and 2 of them can game 4K 120 or faster, which is what, you know, a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X has. So if you're a competitive gamer and you don't want to have any input lag, you know, of course, the TV might be better, or you may already be on a computer monitor because that's really where you want to play high-speed gaming. But the TV's probably got an advantage there. On the other hand, you have 2 HDMI ports at 4K 60 on the projector, which is completely fine for gaming in most instances. We found that it looks great, it feels good, there doesn't seem to be input lag as there is on some of the other projectors we've had in the past where you literally can't do anything in a game. It seems pretty fine on this one, and overall, again, I think just the sheer size of the screen is indicative of how much fun you can have with gaming. And not that anyone really games off angle often, but if you had a bunch of people in a room, again, the QM8 just doesn't look the same from all the different angles, where the Ultimea projections and the projection screen looks fantastic from all around the room. So I really think that there is an advantage there, and of course the size advantage is obvious. So where does this leave you as a buyer? When I made this video, both of these setups are about the same price point. The TV was originally around $10,000, is about $7,000 now. And on the other hand, you have the projector and the projection screen coming in $1,000 less at $59.99. So very even from that respect. But you get a much bigger screen with the projector at 120-inch, where the TV is 98-inch, so obviously that's a difference right there. And something that stood out to me is kind of the convenience of both of these. I think they both have pluses and minuses. If you already have a theater room ready to go and you just want to set one of them in, you probably could figure either one of these out. But the projection screen could just be on the floor or on the wall if you already have a different one, and you could just buy the projector itself and set it up to have a nice bright experience in your movie room. And the TV, you know, you might have to put that on the wall, find a mount, hire someone to install it. Again, those are, you know, situational things, and it might not be something that everyone encounters, but I think that's just something to think about when buying one of these two. And speaking to convenience and longevity, the Ultimea Thor T60 actually has a 3.5-year warranty, and they have lifetime 24/7 customer service, whereas the TCL TV has a 1-year warranty, which is pretty standard for TVs, so pretty cool that the Ultimea product has 3.5 years. But for me, if you're in a darker room and you want a theater experience, I definitely think giving this 120-inch screen and projector a shot is worth it because of the size and how good it is in comparison to a very high-end TV like this TCL QM8. In my opinion, they look very similar, and if you're off angle or have a wide room, then the Ultimea projector definitely looks better. And I have had some issues sitting to the side of the QM8 and not enjoying the experience because it just doesn't look anything like it looks like when you're sitting right in front of it. And I don't know how many people want it to look only good from straight on. So that's something that I'm always concerned with when I'm with friends watching a movie or a game. Like, I definitely want it to look good from anywhere you're sitting in the room. Now, there definitely are a couple instances where the TV might be better. If you're in a super bright room with a lot of windows, you might benefit from the anti-reflective capabilities of the TV and the fact that it is a little bit brighter in general when you're watching scene to scene. So that would be something to think about. And there are actually less expensive 98-inch TVs. There is the new TCL S5, which I was very impressed with, and I thought it was nearly as good as the QM8 without some of the downsides like having the dimming zones and blooming issues. So I think that would be another great comparison. Of course, it's very similar, so I can't compare everything to every other projector to every TV. But I think that is a good option because it's only about $3,000, which is about the same as the Ultimea projector itself. But if you have a projection screen up on the wall, or if you're trying to go over 100-inch and you want to get something that's truly immersive and gigantic and still has a great quality to it, I think that the Ultimea Thor T60 is a great option. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. Are you going to purchase one of these? Do you have a preference of a projection screen or a TV? And in what circumstances? Let me know in the comments below and why. And if you're interested in getting the Ultimea Thor T60, check out the links in the description. They have a Kickstarter campaign going on right now, so you can check it out, order ahead of time. You get big discounts on it. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you guys on the next video.